This subcontractor orientation video will introduce you to the Kester construction safety requirements. Site-specific hazards and conditions may require additional training. This video is only an introduction. Kester Construction is committed to creating the safest workplace possible for our team members, industry partners, and clients. All subcontractors and site visitors are expected to adhere to these safety standards. 100% safety compliance is required at all times, and anyone violating these safety guidelines will be asked to immediately discontinue work and leave the job site. If you have any further questions after watching this video, please ask the Kester Construction Superintendent for further clarification. Personal protective equipment is required for all on-site personnel and visitors. Hard hats must be worn on-site at all times. Hard hats should be routinely inspected for dents or cracks to ensure they are in good condition. Safety glasses or face shields must be worn anytime there is potential for foreign objects to get into the eyes, such as during welding, cutting, grinding, nailing, or when working with concrete or harmful chemicals. Eye and face protection should be selected based on the anticipated hazard. Workers must wear work shoes or boots with slip-resistant and puncture-resistant soles. Safety-toed footwear should be worn when working around heavy equipment or falling objects. A high-visibility shirt or vest must be worn on site. Full-length pants and shirts with sleeves are required. Shorts, tank tops, and sleeveless shirts are not allowed on the job site. Certain activities require the use of gloves in order to prevent cuts, splinters, scrapes, or burns. Care should be taken when wearing gloves around moving equipment. All finger rings, loose clothing, or jewelry should be removed prior to starting work. Long hair must be tied back and secured before working. Hearing protection must be used when working in high noise areas above 85 decibels. If you have to raise your voice to be heard 3 feet away, assume that hearing protection is required. Falls are the leading cause of death in the construction industry, and almost all sites have unprotected sides and edges, wall openings, or floor holes at some point during construction. Fall protection is mandatory at any location where workers are exposed to a potential fall height of 6 feet or more. When installing guardrails, the height of the top rail must be between 39 and 45 inches above the working walking level. Top rails must be capable of withstanding at least 200 pounds of force applied in any outward or downward direction at any point along its edge. Midrails must be placed midway between the top edge of the guardrail system and the walking working level. Midrails must be capable of withstanding at least 150 pounds of force. Toe boards must be provided when employees below could be exposed to falling objects such as tools or materials. Toe boards shall be at least 3.5 inches high and capable of withstanding a force of 50 pounds applied in any direction. Personal fall arrest systems must be used when other means of fall protection are not available. Anchorages used for attachment of personal fall arrest equipment must be capable of supporting at least 5,000 pounds per person. Systems must be rigged such that an employee can neither free fall more than 6 feet nor contact any lower level. Personal fall arrest systems must be inspected before each use for wear or damage. Warning lines can be erected to mark off areas of roof work in which workers can do work without using guardrails or safety nets. Warning systems must be erected no less than 6 feet from the roof's edge for roofing work and no less than 15 feet back for non-roofing work. The line must be located at a height of 34 to 39 inches and flagged at an interval of every 6 feet. Hole covers and barricades should be used to prevent workers from falling into holes in roofs, floors, or other surfaces. Any opening over 2 inches must be properly covered and protected. Always construct scaffolds according to the manufacturer's instructions. Install a guardrail system along all open sides and ends of platforms. Provide safe access to scaffold platforms and do not climb cross bracing as a means of access. A competent person must inspect scaffold before each workday and tag the scaffold as inspected. Unguarded protruding steel reinforcing bars are hazardous. Falling or stumbling onto an unguarded rebar can cause impalement resulting in serious injuries or death. Guard all protruding ends of steel rebar with rebar caps, or bend rebar so exposed ends are no longer upright. Falls from ladders can cause injuries ranging from sprains to death. Portable ladders must be safely positioned each time they are used. Position extension ladders so the side rails extend at least 3 feet above the landing. Secure side rails at the top to a rigid support and use a grab device when the 3-foot extension is not possible. Make sure that the weight of the ladder will not cause it to slip off its support. Before each use, inspect ladders for cracked or broken parts and immediately remove unsafe ladders from service. Only use fiberglass ladders that comply with OSHA design standards. Electrical injuries can range from minor shocks to severe burns, fires, explosions, or death. Overhead and buried power lines at your site are especially hazardous because they carry extremely high voltage. Contact utilities for buried power line locations before starting work. Stay at least 10 feet away from overhead power lines at all times. Always assume that overhead lines are energized. Normal use of electrical equipment at your site causes wear and tear that results in insulation breaks, short circuits, and exposed wires. If there is no ground fault protection, these can cause a ground fault that sends current through the worker's body. Use ground fault circuit interrupters on all 120-volt single-phase 15 and 20 ampere receptacles. The electrical contractor on-site will be asked to test GFCI on a weekly basis. Only use double-insulated tools and equipment that are distinctively marked. Visually inspect all electrical equipment and cords before use. Remove from service any equipment with frayed cords, missing ground prongs, or cracked tool casings. Apply a warning tag to any defective tool and remove from the job site. Use a lockout-tagout procedure when working on energized equipment. Use only extension cords that are marked with a designation code for hard or extra hard usage. Use only cords, connection devices, and fittings that are equipped with strain relief. Remove cords from receptacles by pulling on the plugs, not the cords. Following proper vehicle safety procedures can mitigate the risk of being pinned between vehicles and walls, struck by swinging backhoes, crushed beneath overturned vehicles, or being struck by trucks or cars. Always wear seatbelts, except on equipment that is designed for only stand-up operation or that has no rollover protective structure. Check vehicles before each workday to assure that all parts and accessories are in safe operating condition. Do not drive a vehicle in reverse gear with an obstructed rear view unless another worker signals that it is safe. All vehicles must have an audible reverse alarm. Drive vehicles or equipment only on roadways or grades that are safely constructed and maintained. Make sure that you and other personnel are all in the clear before using dumping or lifting devices. Leave all controls in neutral position and set parking brakes when not in use. All vehicles must have adequate braking systems and other safety devices. Do not exceed a vehicle's rated load or lift capacity. Use traffic signs, barricades, or flaggers when construction takes place near public roadways. All boom-supported equipment operators must be wearing a full-body harness and lanyard during operation. Scissor lift operators must secure the safety chain before use. Operators are responsible for the safe operation of equipment. Only trained and certified operators are allowed to operate cranes, skid steers, forks, and boom lifts. All excavations are hazardous because they are inherently unstable. If they are restricted spaces, they present the additional risks of suffocating, inhaling toxic materials, fire, or drowning. Pre-job planning is vital to accident-free trenching. Safety cannot be improvised as work progresses. The following concerns must be addressed by a competent person before starting work. Contact utilities to locate underground lines. Test for low oxygen, hazardous fumes, and toxic gases. Ensure adequate ventilation or respiratory protection if necessary. Plan to keep excavations open the minimum amount of time needed to complete operations. Trenches and excavations must be inspected daily by a competent person. A competent person is someone who has training in soil analysis, has training in the use of protective systems, is knowledgeable about OSHA requirements, and has authority to immediately eliminate hazards. Excavated material can cause cave-ins, or spoils and equipment can roll back on top of workers. One of the following precautions must be used to protect workers. Set spoils and equipment at least 2 feet back from the excavation. Use a retaining device, such as a trench box, that will extend above the top of the trench to prevent equipment and spoils from falling back into the excavation. Where the site does not permit a 2-foot setback, spoils may need to be temporarily hauled to another location. All excavations over 5 feet must be sloped, shored, or shielded per OSHA requirements. When conditions in a trench or excavation become hazardous, survival may depend on how quickly the workers can climb out. Provide stairways, ladders, ramps, or other safe means of egress in all trenches that are 4 feet deep or more. Position means of egress within 25 lateral feet of workers. Work involving chipping, cutting, drilling, grinding, or similar activities can lead to silica exposure at hazardous levels, resulting in lung cancer, silicosis, pulmonary disease, and kidney disease. All contractors and their employees must implement acceptable exposure control methods and work practices that limit the exposure to silica per OSHA standards. These control methods may include a written exposure control plan, exposure monitoring, hazard communication training, medical surveillance, and housekeeping. Ensure you are trained on silica exposure and the proper use of a respirator before starting work. Immediately report any unsafe conditions or exposure incidents to the site superintendent. Creating a safe working environment is our number one priority. All Kester construction job sites are violence, alcohol, and drug-free, and violations of this policy will result in immediate disciplinary action. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your commitment to keeping yourself and others safe.